Hello. We are going back to the topic of Tales of Zestiria, and I'm going to make Rose this time. Compared to the rest of Chibi's figures of Zesty cast, this was the easiest one. It only got more time consuming and a little harder at the end when I had to do the details, but we will get to that. Well then, let's sum up what colors of wool you will need to prepare to make Rose. It will be black, white, skin, claret, blue, pink, yellow, brown and 2 shades of red. As always, I start my felting work by making the head. The ball for it is around 5 centimeters. This time I've used a paper template to do eyes. You can make and use those kinds of templates, if you have stable foam, or something else to felt on that won't bend too much. By the time I edit this video, I use those kinds of foams and they are great, but they get worn out pretty fast. Even more, if you use more than one needle at the time. That's why I currently use the sponge when I start my work with any shape, and I use foams only for details or tiny things. After I've finished with eyes, I've made a mouth with pink wool. Rose's hair took me some time, but doing them right makes Rose a rose. It's like 60% of charm. So as you see, I've started from doing center hair above forehead, then slowly moving once right, once left. You should do eyebrows around this moment too, before you do those strands of hair on the right side. I have pushed a lot of wool on top of Rose's head. I think my layer of hair at the head's top is around 1 centimeter large. You will do a lot of hair stands if you are going to make the backside too, so prepare a lot of claret wool. For Rose's hair clips, I've made 2 balls from yellow wool and connected them to felted earlier strands of hair. The tips of that hair going to be connected to hair clips later. It's another Zestiria figure, and I can talk about this game again. The world in Zesty feels very open, and I like to run around with this beautiful music in the background. The music in Zestiria is one of the best in the series for me. I like Legendia too, and it's no surprise since it was made by the same composer. 2 vocal songs are amazing. I need to make some new playlists and listen to them again, as well as shrine songs, and Zavia theme, they all were great. In the end, I've made 7 strands of hair for the backside and those 2 longer ones she has on the left and right side. Once you're happy with Rose's head, it's body time. The main body is again 5 centimeters long, around 2,5 wide in the waist. Arms and legs should be around 4 centimeters long, 1 wide. I've covered my main body with red wool as I was getting closer to add the last layers on the core. I've made legs while and arms with skin color. After I made all those parts and connected them into the pose I wanted, it was a moment to push a little more wool to make boobs. As I said in the video, you can do them or skip them. I've felted a little of skin color wool around neck too at this step. I wasn't sure how much of the shirt will her yellow bandana cover, so I did it anyway. The easiest way to do the end of Rose's shirt that falls on her legs was to felt a standalone patch from red wool first and then connect it to the main body and legs. Then just cover the sides and back with small pieces of wool. You don't need to do patches there. The next step was to cover the upper arms with black wool. I didn't use more because I would need to add a lot of white wool to cover black later when I'm going to make sleeves. After this part, I've started to work on those pink details of Rose's jacket. I've felted a patch again. I've shaped one on its edges a little more wavy. You can make it wavier when you connect it if the effect before wasn't enough. And don't use a tin needle for shaping and bending wool as I did. Use the biggest needle you have. About Rose, I think she was the first character that struck me as wow, she's cool. Like she didn't have to stay with Sori and fight Held Alf, at least she didn't have any personal reason. She wasn't driven by revenge or some connection, she had done her best just because it was the right thing to do. Because of her, Sori found his answer of going forward, not because he might help the world to become a better place. No, his actions might help the world to not become worse than the world already is. That's why I like Zestiria so much. Because it's not another game about an ultra-powerful hero who saves the world from corruption and evil and all bad things are magically fixed, but about doing something so things won't turn even worse. Sori's action at the end of the game, beating Held Alf, only helps the world a little. The last word is left to people, if they will doom everything or embrace Sori and Maudalus's gift and live normal. I like standard JRPGs, don't get me wrong. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 ending is one of the best, most climatic endings where you beat God and things looking great for the future. But my talking drifted from Rose a little. She always gives her all. Once she sets her decision on something, she pushes forward until the end, and I love that about her. She can be both funny and deadly. I wonder how old she is, probably around 23 to 25 I think, since she was going to be married few years before the game starts. And I love her design, somehow everything Rose wears fits her greatly. I don't know, her face and hair have such a nice look that she can wear everything and it will be great in my eyes. For the hoodie, I again made a small patch which I connected later. All those steps aren't hard but they take time. The shoes were the first piece of Rose's clothing that slowed down the whole creating process. They had details and shapes which needed more attention in order to do them right. They weren't as hard as Lila's dress details but not that much easier too. Rose's relationship with Dezel in-game is a really interesting one. While Pendrago events I got this impression of the story began to push strongly into Rose and Dezel pairing. We know Dezel had his motive to be around Rose and he used her in ways he never should. In the end one might answer that all times Dezel worries and saves Rose is because of his plot of revenge, another might say he really cared for her. I think we can add into the mix guilt that Dezel felt for destroying her and the rest of Scattered Bones' possible life. The story tells us he forgot about all, but I think pieces of that guilt stayed in Dezel's actions towards Rose. Oh, and Rose is in both of my funniest Zestiria scenes, fake marriage and how she knocks Sori out when Edna scares her. After I've finished with boots I've decided to finish sleeves. There is not much to talk about them, just to roll white wool around arms and felt it down. It's almost the finish line. I've used lighter red wool for this zone of shirt between yellow lines, then I've felted 4 tiny yellow lines and connected them to the shirt at the front and back. I think this way is the easiest one, adding darker red wool on the sides would be more problematic. Don't forget about those white details on the jacket's shoulders. I've felted some tiny patches for belts. I've made mine a little too big and I've spent a lot of time later trying to fix the width by pushing more material inside the figure, but it's not something I recommend doing all time. I've made pockets with brown wool, then buckles and other belt details with yellow wool. So all that's left is to connect the head with the rest of the body. After I connected both of those things so they hold up, I've made a bandana. It helped the head to hold even better. You can add a little of pink wool to the sides if that's not enough. And there she is, Assassin Daughter Rose. I hope you like this video. Any like, comment, or subscribe will help me fight with the YouTube algorithm, so I will be very happy if you left any of them. The next video will be a Tinbury from the series Final Fantasy. Next stabbing fella after Rose? Is this a coincidence or not? See you in another video of nerdy felting.